Rhea Ripley could reportedly be missing until the Royal Rumble. Vince McMahon wanted Matt Hardy to stop wrestling and start producing. And a proposed settlement connected to the WWE TKO merger has hit a slight problem. Nobody can agree who's paying the bill. Apparently in wrestling, return dates, retirement plans, and settlements worth nearly $150 million all work the same way. Everything is agreed, right up until it isn't. Hello and welcome back to Board Wrestling Fans. Let's begin. We'll start with Rhea Ripley because WWE is reportedly hoping to have her back in the ring by the Royal Rumble in January. Ripley tore her meniscus during her match against Jade Cargill at Clash in Italy back in June. She managed to wrestle at 2 house shows afterwards, which sounds impressive until you remember that continuing to wrestle on a torn meniscus is generally discouraged by doctors, knees, and basic common sense. Rhea was eventually pulled from action and has now undergone surgery. She explained on social media that surgery wasn't her preferred option, but the severity of the tear meant it had become necessary. WWE originally appeared hopeful that she could return sometime after SummerSlam. Instead, the latest report suggests she could now be sidelined for the rest of 2026, with the Royal Rumble being the current target. Chelsea Green won the ladder match at SummerSlam to become the interim WWE Women's Champion, but WWE must now decide whether to leave Chelsea holding an interim title for the next 5 months or officially recognize her as the full champion. Because interim champion sounds impressive, but it's essentially wrestling's version of being told you're temporarily in charge while your manager's on annual leave. There is, however, a very obvious story sitting right in WWE's lap. Chelsea becomes the official champion, spends the next few months becoming increasingly convinced that the division belongs to her, and then Rhea Ripley returns at the Royal Rumble to reclaim the championship she never lost. Lights go out, music hits, mommy's home. The only difficult part will be watching the commentary team pretend to be stunned after the return date has been reported 5 months in advance. Of course, January is only WWE's hope at this stage. Recovery comes first, and nothing should be treated as confirmed until Rhea is medically cleared. But what would you do with the championship? Keep Chelsea as interim champion until Rhea returns? Or make Chelsea the full champion and build towards a proper title unification match? Moving on, and Matt Hardy has revealed that Vince McMahon had a very different vision for the closing stages of his WWE career. At the end of Matt's contract in 2020, WWE wanted him to re-sign. The slight catch was that Vince apparently saw Matt becoming a full-time producer, coach, or agent rather than continuing as an active wrestler. Essentially, Vince wanted Matt Hardy to delete his own in-ring career. Matt believed that Vince saw the bigger individual stars in Edge and Jeff Hardy rather than Matt and Christian. He made it clear that Vince still liked and respected them, but once Vince had decided where somebody belonged, it could be extremely difficult to change his mind. Matt even thought WWE might give him a short program involving The Fiend and Jeff Hardy's Willow character if he re-signed, which, to be fair, sounds completely unhinged. The Fiend, Willow, and broken Matt Hardy together? Matt's concern was that after a couple of months, Vince would simply move him into the backstage role he had already chosen for him. Matt's answer was straightforward. If he could still wrestle, he wanted to wrestle. And you can understand both sides. Matt Hardy has one of wrestling's most creative minds and could probably have been an excellent producer. WWE wasn't telling him that he had nothing left to offer. It was saying that his value might now be greater behind the curtain. Unfortunately, that's not especially comforting when you still want to be standing in front of it. It raises an interesting question about who should decide when a wrestler's in-ring career is over. The company watching from the outside, the doctors looking at the wrestler's body, or the wrestler himself, who may understand his body better than anybody, but is also possibly the least emotionally capable person in the room when it comes to walking away. Matt ultimately left WWE in 2020 rather than accept the transition. So was Vince actually underestimating Matt Hardy as a performer, or was he correctly identifying the role Matt could eventually be brilliant at? Maybe both things can be true. Vince might have recognized Matt's future. He was just slightly early and characteristically unwilling to let Matt choose where. Finally, grab an abacus and your least exciting pair of reading glasses, because we need to discuss the WWE TKO merger lawsuit. A shareholder lawsuit was filed in 2023 against Vince McMahon and several other WWE figures, including Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson. The lawsuit alleged that the process leading to WWE's merger with UFC under TKO had undervalued WWE and denied shareholders the opportunity to receive a better price. It also alleged that Vince had pushed the process in a direction that protected his own position within the company. The defendants have denied the key allegations. A trial was due to begin in June, but it was canceled at the last minute after the parties reached a settlement in principle. Job done then? Of course not. This is WWE. Even the lawsuits have false finishes. TKO initially disclosed that WWE's portion of the proposed settlement would be $105 million. WWE expects approximately $75 million of that to be covered through insurance, leaving an estimated loss of $30 million. However, attorneys representing the shareholders have since said that the complete settlement is actually worth $147.5 million. The remaining $42.5 million has reportedly been allocated to Vince McMahon or insurers acting on his behalf. The problem is that the settlement still hasn't been finalized. According to the WWE defendant side, there's a narrow disagreement with Vince McMahon over indemnification, insurance, and contribution obligations. In normal English, they appear to agree that the bill must be paid. They're arguing over whose card is going into the machine. Attorneys representing Vince say he has already agreed to the settlement and is prepared to sign it. They argue that there should be no reason for the dispute between the defendants to delay matters any further. The shareholders' response can basically be summarized as, "That sounds like your problem." They've asked the judge to make the defendant sign the agreement by a fixed date, while the WWE side has proposed either finalizing it by the 28th of August or providing another update explaining the delay. And yet, more than 2 months after the trial was canceled, nobody has actually completed the 3 count. Corporate wrestling really is just kayfabe with invoices. So, Rhea Ripley could be targeting a Royal Rumble return. Matt Hardy rejected Vince McMahon's plan to turn him into a producer, and a $147.5 million settlement is being delayed by an argument over who pays what. Let me know what you think. Should Chelsea Green become the official WWE Women's Champion? Was Vince right about Matt Hardy's future? And is this settlement dispute genuinely nothing more than complicated insurance paperwork? Or does this story still have another twist coming? This is Bored Wrestling Fans, and I'll see you when wrestling produces another completely normal day of news. So, probably tomorrow.